Hello, hello, hello. Testing. 1, 2. Hello, hello, hello. If my audio is good, just if my audio needs some adjustments, let me know. I'm going to just be getting some links out. So give me but a moment. Sorry for the delay. I'll get to that in a minute. Let me know. I'm going to just be getting some links. Oh, thank you, Charlie Adam. Oh, there are people already here. Good. Let me just get it onto the Discord. How's everybody doing? Should that be loud and clear, Treads? Ah, an OG, an old one. As you can see by my background that I'm using a very old one I had back when I had a Patreon and I'd have the patrons listed there. If I decide to do more content like that again, I guess I could bring that back. But let's just get this started. So, YouTube. This will be a general Q&A and just sort of my thoughts on where we are. Don't remember if I was ever on Telegram. I think I was on Gab very briefly. I guess I must have been on Telegram if you met me there. Okay, so this is going to be a bit of a chill stream, or just trying to sort my thoughts out. But I kind of wanted to make a stream like this in commemoration of. Now, it was actually a couple weeks ago, but the 10th anniversary of when I first started posting content on this channel. I may or may not have made a couple other things that I have since deleted. Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Atman Brahmin, 1872. And just kind of going back over it, I could kind of go back through some of my back catalog of my videos. Let me see if I can record that. Get a recording of that. Display capture. See if you guys can see this. I think you guys should be able to see this. Yep, there we go. Yes, you'll be able to see what I'm subscribed to, but let's do a little trip down memory lane of my videos. Yeah, you can see some of the accounts I'm subscribed to. I don't think there's anything else on. I don't have any embarrassing tabs or nothing. But we can go down to my first video, which was Russell Moore's plan to end racism. I'm not really gonna go through the videos. I don't want to react because I'd be very embarrassed to watch myself again. But it is quite amazing that it's been 10 years. Um, and I've made this point a number of times, but the reason I started my channel is, and this is back when I was still an evangelical, was seeing how the woke racial politics was infesting the evangelical community, with people like Russell Moore, who is a one of the leaders of the Southern Baptist Convention, the largest Protestant church in the United States. Um, and I was like, hey, you guys are letting in a Trojan horse that's going to let in a whole bunch of other woke stuff. We called it them SJWs, or progressive, back then. And of course, I was inspired by people like Sargon and everybody, and even Kraut when he was still sort of good back 10 years ago, before he went nuts. And so you can kind of see, you created your own. Oh my god. I have my my little rant where it's like, oh, here's my advice for Sargon and Thunderfoot and TJ, the amazing atheist, who, yeah, he's gonna need a lot more advice now about, oh, you need to have some sort of positive vision of the future, as opposed to, hey, you're going completely nuts. But as you can see, I just made my own on a Windows Movie Maker, my own response videos. Uh, Real popular one that started was my Atheism is Unstoppable video, and those ones, that one, the response to the questions skeptics have for theists. So thanks, Argent. God bless you too. That one was really fun to make. Um, this is when it was. This was, I think, the 2010s, to late 2010s was. That was like the peak of the art of the smug anime girl response. When that was just that would really that could really get your goat. And my channel trailer. There was a good video by Wyatt Stagg I saw recently. It's a few years old, but it was a kind of breakdown of how awful George Carlin really was, of him not just being some boomer lib atheist, but genuinely a true, honest to God misanthrope. And it's much better than a video I could have ever made on it, but I made it way before him. I was like, hey, these idiots that the classical liberals, centrists keep saying, oh, this guy, we need to go back to people like George Carlin and Bill Maher. Say, that's the thing is, like, I don't understand why any conservative likes Bill Maher if they have more than two brain cells. It's the thing with, like, Bishop Barron, right? Like, Bishop Barron, I think, is a great evangelist. His videos and work has helped me personally become Catholic. I think he's very good on theology, but politics, he's so married to the boomer truth regime almost more than anybody else. And he's like still like, oh, I like just how Bill Maher talks and stuff. It's like Bill Maher hates you. And that's, I think, the hardest thing to try and get across to the boomer conservatives is, no, these people hate you. They want you dead. They can't say that out loud, but they absolutely. It's why, like, with the new atheists, I never, ever, like, a lot of the new atheists, they say, like, oh, I still believe in, like, freedom of religion. I don't believe in. I did not take that seriously for a second. I absolutely did not take that, did not believe them. If they were given any semblance of power, they immediately would start shutting down churches, taxing them, and, shutting down churches, persecuting people. They think that taking your kids to Sunday school is abuse. So they would basically say you're not allowed to raise children in your religion. And that's kind of sort of what it started turning me. I mean, I've been basically, I guess what you could say, dissident right for, like, since the early 2010s, since I became an adult. But, it's an interesting journey. Like, I started responding against the classical liberals, and what's funny is, as small as my presence online is, I seem to have somehow outlasted most of these people. They've either gone full trad, or they've basically gone fully insane. Like, I was responding to like Shoe on Head, and well, what? She's like a trad wife now. Sargon is basically a Christian in everything, but in he's a culturally a Christian. He's a conservative. Oh, hello, it's real 88. How's hello from Austria? Cool. I would love to visit Vienna. I would love to visit Austria sometime. Then, of course, my most popular video is "Why I'm a Monarchist," which really I should make an I should make a follow up to, not least because it's got, my goodness, over 110,000 views. I was really cooking back then. I'm kind of jealous of my previous self. I actually could be making some more money. Yeah, Sargon, Millennial Woes, a lot of that. It's turned to, even if they're not personally Christian, they're at least all on our side. Um, and my view is like, oh look, Jordan Peterson. Remember him back when he was actually really interesting? And I also, I guess I correctly predicted the end of the skeptic community. I mean, okay, I don't know if she was fully trad white, but she is married to one of our guys. Um, but yeah, that whole kind of classical liberal, I guess they call themselves sensible centrists now, but they're basically dissident right at this point. Um, that thing basically has collapsed. There wasn't really any glue to bind it together after the whole SJW thing, because it turned, you could kind of see in real time, right? The shift from, all these Tumblr feminists in their bedrooms, and the the whole trans thing was a joke. That was the die cis scum meme. Everyone thought it was stupid and hilarious. The whole boomer idea of, these kids will grow out of it once they graduate college and get into the real world. Um, what happened? Well, they became the professional activist class. They got jobs in universities. Left wing millennials are now in positions of power, and they're careening society off of a cliff. Um, so yeah, we just kind of, just the idea of building up a dissident community online, and it's of course evolved way beyond people like me, the distributist, and a few others, just kind of posting dissidents. Yes, I remember the liberalists, but again, that's over. But we're still here. We've changed names a number of times, like neo-reactionary, traditionalists, dissident right, but we've kind of stuck with the a set of core beliefs. One of my favorites is a parody I made of, if you know the Golden One, the Swedish neo-pagan bodybuilder. I just made a little edit. This is when I was actually getting a lot of practice in with editing, of a video of him, of the Swedish chef from the Muppets, but I just kind of edited audio over to that footage, and it actually matched pretty well. There's that. The liberty and equality are not, because that's the only thing that they thought that the traditional left-right dichotomy post-war, think of as, the left wants equality, the right wants liberty. Hello, exiled New Yorker. How are you? Um, there's Godless Engineer. That's not one of my proudest moments. I'm okay with the video, but I had no experience in a debate, and so I was like, he sounds like some idiot. He's got like Marvel comic book covers on his framed on his wall. I could crush him. Obviously, he was a little bit smarter than I thought, and I just did not have the. I do like that phrase, Arjun. This thing of ours. But yeah, so not proud of that. But there's when Kraut T lost his mind. People said I did a very good Kraut impression. Because you have to have the kind of German accent, but he's half British, and you sound so pretentious and full of yourself. There's my video on the Charlottesville. That's kind of the end of the golden era, at least in my view, that hey, the of when I was making videos regularly before I got more regular employment and real life started showing up. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's cool to meet people from when I first met them. Just kind of some more stuff. This is kind of when I started doing the 2019 is when I started doing the movie reviews, which I actually liked doing. It was kind of fun. I felt a little bit. I thought it was a cozy vibe of me just in my car, like outside of the movie theater, reviewing what I thought. These are just some stream VODs. I want to get back into streaming, but I just keep going back and forth of do I want to do it on Twitch or on here? And it makes more sense just to do it here because I have 8,000 subs here and like almost nobody on the Twitch. When I'm finished with the Fairy Tail, I'll give an update. I still like it. But yeah, there's a few of my other just kind of very low edited videos on this is what I actually like. And this video on my exodus from consumerism, what I liked about it is I didn't even know about the Boogie 2988 stuff yet, but it was like a year after that I saw that documentary where he literally says like he wants to be buried with his with his magic cards. And it shows a video of like when he's waking up and he's like a Necron from 40K or a mummy where he's like got the CPAP machine on him. And he's just in the film it's just like a flat shot of his like giant body and you can hear the breathing like Darth Vader and then he awakes like a mummy from his tomb. And it's just that kind of the consumerism. That's kind of what it feels like. It's they're building up mausoleums for themselves in almost a way that they probably think at some level that like they're taking their Funko Pops, they're taking their magic cards to the afterlife. And I kind of contrasted that is the difference is, of course, is Moses. That's the kind of model that we should be after, of having something much more not tangible, but actually meaningful, which is, you know, the pharaohs were storing up physical material goods for the afterlife, whereas Moses was leading a people. He was leading and he was following a faith, something far more eternal. Some more video game reviews. My favorite video game visual novel of all time, I Want to Hug That Gator. Well, thank you. Honestly, when the next game comes out, I'm streaming it. I might stream Gator I Want to Hug That Gator again and just play through the other endings because I didn't stream that. A couple more anime reviews. My first kitchen knife review, as you can see, I'm fat and white, though you can only see my hands. And my latest, which is a review of the anime Claymore, which I'm reading through the manga now. It's pretty good. But that doesn't really include some of the live streams. So some video games, bunch of that. Nothing. This does take me back. Yes. Honestly, I kind of want to get rid of some of these, but as you can see, we won't need to enjoy video games in the resurrection, so probably not. My first live stream was with our good friend Dave the Distributist, who's streaming tonight as well. And it makes me kind of want to do a little getting the band back together, because the original kind of kind of few, I guess, traditionalists, when it was just a few of us YouTubers with tiny, like 1,000 and sub 1,000 subscriber channels were just starting out. There was me, there was Dave, there was Todd Lewis, there was Ben McLean, who's, you know, doesn't really do much anymore, but there was, but yeah, so I had my first stream with Dave. He's been a very good friend. Love to meet him IRL, but it just, you know, at some point, I assume we're going to cross paths in real life, which I would love to do. I don't think Dave is cozying up to Glowies. Ian Davis, this is best back when you're just trying to get yourself out there and trying to communicate. Ian Davis was a guy that was a regular on Kraut streams, and he's basically just this old drunk English guy that I just talked to for 2 hours. But yeah, those are kind of the. I would like to do more gaming streams if I can at least get some sort of consistency with that, because I think that's what will help the channel again. Is if I can at least do some consistency. But yeah, in terms of where we are now. Where the world stands, it's actually sort of interesting how similar it is to where we were 10 years ago. Where 10 years ago was when woke really was starting to get popular, when woke really was starting to get, it's the end of the Obama administration. Everybody's gearing up to be, this is when, like, the big woke thing was feminism. Because it was, what the Ghostbusters 2016 reboot, feminism, Gamergate feminism, Hillary Clinton. It was supposed to be her crowning achievement as the first female president. She had crawled her way up through the political ladder, killing heaven knows who many people. Corruption, everything, to get her way to become the first female president. That was her crown to take, but she didn't get it because of Donald Trump, who is still kind of an enigma of whether or not how much momentum he actually pushed in the right-wing direction, or how much he was only just a result of it. And it's probably a bit of both. He almost certainly helped normalize pushing in a more right-wing direction. Like, what's fascinating now is 10 years ago, 10 years ago, like, the thing about immigration, which is still probably the biggest single issue, is demographics for our time. And it's, of course, sadly only gotten worse in the past 10 years, yet what seems to be a big question on people's mind, and it was true back then, is how much stress can the system take before it breaks? And it seems like, I think it can take more than we thought, but that momentum is actually starting to build towards real change. Like, think about this, is the buzzword or the watchword back then was stop immigration. Say specifically when it comes to Europe, is stop immigration, close the borders. Like, that was the best you could hope for. Whereas now, yes, fully right-wing governments haven't really taken control yet. However, remigration is now on everybody's mind, which is even more extreme than just closing the borders. This is just, an active understanding of we need to get these people who have not assimilated, who have nothing but utter contempt for the native European culture. Yeah, that's correct, Arjun. It's rhetorically immigration's moved rightward, even if the policies haven't. And it kind of... I was thinking about this, and it seems to be the case with both the war in Ukraine and the... Hopefully, I'm praying, and we shall pray that a peace holds, the war with Iran, is that there almost seems to be some sort of power or dark magic holding up the post-war consensus. Because among the things that you kind of one of the first things you understand on the dissident right is that not the post-war consensus, or the end of history, the Fukuyama end of history view, is incorrect. But that viewpoint and the post-war consensus, in which borders and governments basically can't change, and no massive change is actually capable of happening, that's still holding on for dear life, much like the dying boomers. And you kind of see this with Ukraine, where it's like, oh, Russia's going to completely upset the balance of power in the world. Ukraine will cease to be a country. Yet here we are more than 4 years later, and I think Russia has not even taken a quarter of the country, and they're bogged down in trench warfare. And there, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any massive breakthrough that anytime soon. Or, as Arjun's been pointing out in his videos on it, is at some point it could just break, but we just have no idea how or when that's going to happen. So, okay, the balance of power really hasn't shifted because Russia's military isn't the massive behemoth that everybody's terrified of because of the fact that it can't beat another post-Soviet state. And then the war in that's very correct. It is like the warp. Collective belief gives it power. The boomers have power because people believe in their system, which is honestly kind of how I think a lot of like the boomer conservatives think, is if enough people just believe. Well, the problem with trying to win by attrition is it's been 4 years and Russia's also taken huge losses. Yeah, in the long run, I mean, if it was just a plan of let's just bleed Western countries dry of all their weapons and money, okay, I guess. But yeah, it's the boomer cons or the post-war consensus generation. I think that's a more charitable way and a way of actually talking about what I actually care. Or that's a better way of pointing to what I'm talking about. I'm not going to call them the boomers. I'm going to call it the post-war consensus generation or post-war generation. Is if enough, I think they feel like if enough people still believe in the both left and right wing boomer ideology, that they'll be able to retire with their pensions intact or with their social security intact, and not have to worry about the responsibility of everything they've done because they're dead. Because the thing that the boomers or post-war generation fears more than anything else is the state of their legacy. They are horrified, even though it's going to happen, is the fact that they will bring civilization down in flames before they will ever admit that they were responsible for the major socioeconomic issues facing us. That they were anything but perfect angels that helped change the world, and only for the better. Just excuse me, let me get a sip of water. But look where we are now. And what I kind of want to talk a little bit more on is, in 2016, I was still just kind of the LARPing Kaiserreich monarchist. I still like the Kaiser, of course. I will never not like him. But it felt like over the past few years, especially with Trump's beginning his second term, is that, and with groups that I do support, and I'm actively looking to join, like the OGC, is to recognize America as an identity. That, yes, the global American empire is evil, but that America isn't, and trying to kind of rehabilitate that identity as American. Now, I might still have an issue of it being a monarchist. However, it kind of drifted into the background of, oh, this feels a little LARPy. However, with the war in Iran, and to a lesser extent, what the aftermath of the death of Charlie Kirk is that the old order is totally... Well, I mean, what it showed with the Iran war is that the regime, or the deep state, or the State Department, more specifically, is an institution that is totally captured. That there's still a massive amount of power in the hands of the boomers, the post-war generation, that have made it explicit. First, it was always implicit, but now it's just mask off and explicitly clear that the sovereignty that they care about is a foreign country, not the United States. and they only way they try and pretty it up is that support for this democracy in the Middle East is support for America, that the two are literally one in the same. Whether it's via just because that's just what it's still post World War II guilt, or it's the insane, and I just call it that, the kind of dispensationalism, the is a doomsday cult. It literally is a doomsday cult of, we need to support Israel enough so they can build the third temple and Jesus, and the rapture will happen. It's insane. Yeah, the Israel lobby, support for Israel is like going to become at an all-time low. No, that is true. It is sort of Russia versus the Western world. However, like, at some point, because Western countries' militaries aren't really, I don't, at least as far as I'm aware, especially European ones, aren't really geared for long, prolonged conflicts of huge numbers. It's meant for small professional militaries. And that's why and also because huge amounts of their military spending were covered by the United States, they don't really have much in the way of weapons. But yeah, the only people that support Israel now are like old evangelical boomers and Jewish and Zionist Jews. But the actual point of this is more that it kind of reinforced my old or young belief in, well, the system is basically, oh fuck, it's him. Oh my god. Okay, I thought I had blocked you on all on all on all platforms, but yes, Dukect. Hello. It has been a very long time. In any case, what I was saying is that my kind of older beliefs that, the American system just, the existential question I'm asking myself is the American civilization even capable of being saved? Is our system of government even, I don't know. Yeah, we got felted bad in Iran. Like, we've lost the war. Like, first off, I guess you can still claim that we won, or you can't claim that we lost because you cannot claim that we lost the war with Iran because we never stated what our goals were. I guess my point is more that I've been kind of looking back to, those kind of very romantic, monarchist, anti-liberal ideas. You know what? I think it's kind of time to dust some of those off again. And that's the actual question: is classical liberalism is deeply ingrained in the kind of Anglo-Saxon or British American psyche. There's a reason why classical liberalism originated in England, in northwestern Europe, Britain specifically. That it is a part of the culture and ethnicity of those peoples. And it's a good argument as to why it doesn't work anywhere else. Sorry, my thoughts are a bit scattered, but point is that, does that make it, even though that is part of like my ethnicity, my national culture and heritage, does that make it any less evil? But even then, I had question of, like, do I think John Locke was evil? No. However, I think that the ideas of a lot of the classical liberal ideas are absolutely disastrous. And I feel like taking a more critical look at that has kind of been sidelined recently, where back in the pre-Trump or early Trump era, it was still, liberalism itself is evil. It's the enemy. It's not just the progressives. The rot goes a lot deeper. It goes to at the very earliest, the French Revolution. Classical liberalism, yeah, and I suppose that's a way you can think about it. Is that, and it's a way of the founding, and I think the way I think a lot of the founding fathers thought of it is that it's more of a descriptive or prescriptive of this is a this is inherent to Englishmen, that these values, that this way of life is intrinsic to English or British. Not that it's. I'm pretty sure the founding fathers wouldn't. Most of them wouldn't think, "Oh, this is something universal we could introduce to the whole world." And certainly, they would not. At the very least, none of them would have thought, "Oh, we need to introduce this to the whole world." And again, not all the founding fathers were universal in their thought. Hamilton was a monarchist. Certain ones were considerably more conservative Anglophile than Jefferson, who was more of a liberal Francophile. But still, it's an interesting way of thinking about it. Yeah, the issue. Yeah, Arjun's saying the issue isn't so much freedom as the belief everyone has the agency to handle it. And the issue is that we just do not live in that sort of country that the founding fathers created, neither ethnically nor spiritually. And I think that is something that we kind of have to come into come to grips with, is that, yeah, America cannot exist under a liberal democracy right now at all, because people, first off, the founding fathers hated the idea of democracy. The limited representative republic is one thing, but full enfranchisement of the entire population. You add a welfare state onto that, you're insane. It's why I think, and Sargon has made this point too, is an only fair way to have a democracy and a welfare state is that only net tax contributors should be allowed to vote. And what I'm saying is, because I know I've been very scatterbrained and I apologize, is that it's trying to make peace with the fact that, yes, I am an American, both ethnically. Most of my ancestry can be traced here for about 400 years. And I do like the country. I do love the culture and the people, and it is great seeing a sort of revival of a understanding that no, America actually did and still does to an extent have its own distinctive culture, its own distinctive people and history. That we aren't, oh, it's just this hodgepodge of whatever with no actual identity of its own. It's like, no, we do have our own authors, our writers, our artists, our musicians. No, it's fine to act. But what we have to come to terms with is the fact that the country needs to make some serious changes if any aspect of it is to survive. Or, in a way, kind of accepting that we really are the Roman Republic, or the Roman Empire. It's just to be seen, are we approaching the age of a Caesar or the age of, well, the sack of Rome? And I tend to be a bit more pessimistic, thinking we're towards the latter. I think, yeah, we have our flag on the moon. That's something to always be proud of. But yeah, America as a nation. I mean, a simple way of viewing how I look at it is kill the empire but save the nation. Is the ideology of classical liberalism has completely gone out of control. Yeah, we are being sacked. There are tens of millions of people who have no real business being here. But even then, with the tens of millions that came post independence, the Irish, the Germans, the Italians, the other Europeans, like that did fundamentally change the makeup of the country, for better or for worse. Um, However, we were kind of able to assimilate and kind of blend together with that. Like, I'm perfectly fine uh, with the idea of, okay, America did have to incorporate because you had to settle the West and you couldn't just do it with native born Americans. So that's why you kind of had to have the Irish and the Germans come over. But my point is that, if whatever my LARPy, I don't even consider it LARPing if I genuinely believe it, that America would be much better off as a monarchy if we kind of did the Eighth Templar's idea of, the Holy American Empire, where we kind of have a federal or a decentralized elected monarchy. Would that also just kind of destroy a fundamental aspect of who we are as a country? And I think that's a serious question and I don't know the answer to. That, if we just say, hey, classical liberalism sucks, Locke was wrong, a lot of the founding fathers like Jefferson were wrong, that, you can't trust people with liberty because they will always ultimately act in their own enslavement, that even the most absolutist monarchy of the 18th century would be considered a libertarian paradise compared to a modern democracy. That people will vote for their own enslavement. They will abolish their own morality unless there is a very strong, explicitly religious system around them. Taking half of Mexico was based, and also, you know what? That half of Mexico was basically empty. There was no one there until we showed up, and then made it cool. But yeah, it's the idea that if we reject classical liberalism, does that does that necessitate that we're rejecting a core part um, of who we are as British descended peoples, as a Anglo peoples? Because if it's true, yes, classical liberalism only exists or was only born in Britain for a reason, because of the type of people and the type of time that took place in. Though, on the other hand, I did kind of had an idea that it was kind of when I was doing more Prussian history, is that Hobbes was also English, and yes, he did have contributions to what would be considered more modern liberal political thought. He certainly wouldn't be considered a classical liberal in the sense of wanting an absolute monarchy. And it kind of reminded me, and I made a video on this called "The West Isn't a Monolith." This is me just kind of rambling because, like, what my point is that I do love America, and I support the OGC and all that, but at the same time, I still kind of have fundamental ideological disagreements with a lot of the ideology the founding fathers had, and that's the thing I'm trying to reconcile myself with. And also sort of a good chunk of our history. Like, would I be a loyalist? Maybe. One of my ancestor wasn't. I had an ancestor that signed the Declaration of Independence. I'm Catholic. We were founded basically to be a Protestant country. We did have a good amount of Catholics starting out. Japan is not part of the West. I think Russia's more a part of the West than Japan is. But yeah, I guess it'd be helpful if you guys can ask more questions. We can just keep doing more Q&A. my spiel is kind of over. I wish I was a little bit more clear on what I mean. But yeah, that's just kind of my question I'm posing is the fact that and I think a lot of us, and I think we need to reject a lot of the assumptions and beliefs of classical liberalism. Not all of them. Not all of them. But does that kind of go against a lot of our own heritage? Like, am I going to have to sit here and say, you know what, all the founding fathers were stupid and wrong, and, you know, the state of America as it is today is all their fault in the end? I don't think I can really say that. But at the same time, I can't say that, hey, I can draw a line of these issues I have with classical liberalism and how they evolved into where we are today, where liberalism and democracy means, you know, well, we can see what it apparently means in the UK, where Rupert Lowe just published the inquiry of the grooming gang scandal, which I don't think I can take a close look at it. I know what's happened. I think it's more just the massive scale, in which democracy now basically means the government can impose whatever speech restrictions and restrictions on political thought, so long as it relates to criticism of immigration, and that hundreds of thousands of young British girls have had their innocence and lives and livelihoods stolen from them and completely ignored, and in fact deliberately ignored by the powers that be. And yet, in the next one of those polls of who's the most democratic countries in the world, Britain's still probably going to be towards the top. No matter how authoritarian, no matter how tyrannical their government gets, it's still considered a high-functioning democracy. Yet the second you have a politician, say El Salvador, where, yeah, would Bukele still get a resounding victory in an election if it was held today, be overwhelmingly popular among the law-abiding El Salvador Salvador, whatever the denominator is called, population? Yeah, but that's not a democracy, apparently. It's the UN's idea of democracy is that criminals, murderers, rapists, and gangs, those are the rights that you have to stick up for, but the law-abiding citizens, you shouldn't. Standing up for them, doing what's in the interests of your own people, that is not democratic. Whatever would interfere with and doesn't agree with NGOs, yeah, whatever democracy according to the UN is whatever agrees with NGOs. And that's kind of where I am. Is a lot of the faults of classical liberalism, I think, led to where we are now. And at the same time, I would absolutely much prefer to live in the country that the Founding Fathers envisioned. And I have no doubt that they will be absolutely horrified by looking at what America has become today. They would think that we are completely immoral. We basically just worship demons, straight up demons. And they're kind of right, in a literal sense. They would think we never intended this to be a democracy, a mass democracy. We never intended this to be everyone can vote. The government will be involved in basically every aspect of people's lives. It will tax them to death. Every time I look at my paycheck of what I actually do should be earning every week versus what I get paid, I want to commit a war crime. Seeing how the tax money is spent of foreign intervention that all it does is kill people, make some of the most evil people in the world happy and rich, like Ben-Gvir of Israel. Like, I don't hate any group of people. I'm not supposed to as a Christian. But, like, you took it Ben Gvir of Israel. He looks like, if Joseph Goebbels, if the head Nazi propagandists were told, like, given a sketch of him and said, hey, make this into propaganda, they would reject it because, no, this is too ridiculous. Like, nobody this stereotypically evil could exist. And yet he does. And people will just be so intransigent and never accept any criticism of it. You cannot criticize this foreign country. Certainly the Founding Fathers would think, oh, man, we were very much against this as well. I think back then they were when it comes to entangling alliances, it was much more like Britain or France. But I think they could easily say, okay, America is not a sovereign country considering its relationship with a country in the Middle East. And with not just them, many others. But yeah, as a culture and as a people, you can actually see this in the with the World Cup, with the FIFA World Cup of all these accounts of Germans and Scotsmen and other Europeans, Japanese as well. Like these people coming from countries like Germany or Britain, where their countries people from them are constantly criticizing America of, oh, why do this? We don't do that in Germany. They come to America, they love it. They love our culture. They love our food. They love partying. And it's kind of somebody on Twitter made a point of, it really does show how, you get a bunch of guys from Scotland or Germany over to the US, and they can assimilate almost immediately. Like, there's that video of, like, a bunch of Scottish people singing Take Me Home, or Country Roads Take Me Home. And it shows, it's just another example of not all cultures are interchangeable. That these guys from Scotland, can basically immediately assimilate into American culture because it's partially is their culture. The Scottish, especially the Scots-Irish, have, played an absolutely fundamental part, instrumental part in creating and settling this country. Same with the English. And you can say with other Northwestern Europeans, like the Irish and the Germans. Yeah, I'll see you later, Arjun. I'm almost done with this anyway. But yeah. That's just kind of my thoughts and just looking back. And it makes me think, you know what? Myself of 10 years ago, there's a lot I needed to learn and didn't know and made mistakes. But I think there was a certain fire there of, you know what? I know classical liberalism is wrong. I know it's not just the modern progressives. I know it's not even just the boomer cons. It's rotten all the way down to the men like Rousseau and Montesquieu and Voltaire. And yeah, it does create kind of a conflict of, okay, I still want to honor the heritage of my country, of people like George Washington and Jefferson and Ben Franklin. But at the same time, I have like that fundamental ideological disagreement. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. I'll probably try making more videos. I'll definitely try streaming more. I owe it to you guys. You guys, especially the old ones here. I'm so thankful for all of your support. To quote from one of my favorite movies of all time, Waterloo, when Napoleon has to say farewell to his troops when he's going to exile, he says like something along the lines of, know that I love you all, even if I can't embrace you all. I'm not gonna block you, don't you worry. But yes, God bless everybody. This is a bit scatterbrained, but I need to at least show you guys that my channel still has a pulse, so